following is a clip from Flatoberfest 2022. Marty Leeds.
Are you ready, Marty?
Marty!
All right, we have our final presentation for the event before we do the Q&A after our dinner break. And up next we have Mr. Marty Leeds from Agnostic.
Hello, checking 1, 2. That's the Gnostic Church and Academy of Lord Jesus Christ. Hello, I'm Marty Leeds. Thank you all for being here. Can we get a round of applause for Karen B. and all the wonderful volunteers? Because they've been killing it. Yeah, I'm just happy to be here, happy to see so many wonderful people. So I'm going to try to make this quick. Usually I'm pretty verbose, so we'll do my best. Today we're going to talk about the biggest conspiracy in the world. That's what we're going to talk about today. So before we get into that, yes, my name is Marty Leeds. I run a church. We do service every Sunday, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, online service. So if you guys want to check it out, it's gnosticacademy.org, and we talk about lots and lots of things. So we've got a good reception of it. Just started the church this year, and it's been going well. So before we get into that, I want to just let everybody know that we are doing the True Earth Mount Meru Summit on November 11th and 12th, and Austin Whitsitt is one of the guys that set that up. So it's going to be great. I mean, you can see the host of just... so you can use the promo code Marty50 and get 50% off. And it's going to be great. Really looking forward to it. So it is an online summit. So you can watch it in your underwear, drink a glass of Merlot or whatever you want. So once again, we're going to talk about the biggest conspiracy in the world. And most of you are probably like, well, we're at Flatoberfest. We already know what the biggest conspiracy in the world is. It's the flat earth. There's nothing bigger than the flat earth, and they're lying to us about it. Well, that's true. That is very true. But we're going to talk about something else other than that. So flat earth is the biggest physical conspiracy. Absolutely. They're lying to us about where we live. So there's nothing bigger than the ground that we stand on. So I think we all know this. It is literally the biggest physical conspiracy out there. But there's one that's actually bigger than that. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And that is the biggest metaphysical conspiracy. So we already know that they're lying to us about the earth. We know that. Well, what we're going to see is they're also lying to us about the heavens. And I'm kind of a mathy guy, so we're going to use geometry to understand this conspiracy. We're going to talk a little bit about math today and clear up some misconceptions that a lot of people have about math. So the first thing we have to understand is meta means beyond. So when we talk about the heaven and the earth, we are talking about things that are beyond the physicality. So everything that's down here, we can touch and measure and things like that. So we're going to talk about things that are beyond the physicality, and that's the heavens above. So in order to understand this, we have to understand, well, I think we all know that there is a creator, but we have to understand what the purpose of earth is for. And this is going to be the biggest conspiracy in the world. So we have to understand a little thing called teleology. And in theology, when we try to understand the creator and that sort of thing, teleology is the doctrine of design and purpose in the material world. The creator made this place with a purpose, an express purpose for mankind. So we have to ask the questions, okay, so God must have a purpose for creating this whole thing. So what did the creator create earth for? And this is what we're going to find out is the biggest conspiracy. This comes from an esotericist, Alvin Boyd Kuhn. So it said we have to ask, what are we doing here? What is the purpose of earth? The purpose of life in the flesh is to force souls who have come here from the Empyrean, from the heavens, to exert themselves against pressure, stress, and strain in order to develop their greater potential divinity. That's what we're here for, to recognize the potential that human beings actually have. And the powers that should not be, if you will, are trying to crush that potential. They're trying to make us small, like we came from monkeys and shit, okay? And so this is what we're here for. We're here to understand that we have a divine spark within, and that God wants us to bring that spark home. So here we must have struggles. We must have obstacles, challenges, difficulties. We have to have suffering, pain, trials, and tribulations so that we may discover that light that's within us, that eternal divine spark, to discover that within us and send that light back to heaven and make our way back home. And the entire purpose of Earth, at least in the drama of the human experience, why God created the entire thing, at least for us, is for this, that every single one of us has a purpose, and that is to undergo this obstacle course, if you will, called life. Recognize our true potential divinity, where we actually come from, and send that light back home. The entire purpose of Earth is for you to reunite with God Almighty. And the people that are trying to run this show are doing everything in their power to hide this fundamental purpose. This is the purpose of our life. It is the meaning of our lives, is to understand that we have a great spark, a divine spark that's within. It's precious. It comes from the source of all sources, if you will, the Creator. And the people in power don't want us to even know about it. They don't want us to know about our purpose. And so what do? Well, they manipulated our cosmology. They lied to us about Earth. So we know they're lying to us about Earth, which means they're lying to us about heaven. Now, we know, I showed Time magazine last year. Of course, they put this stuff in our face all the time. It's like, does heaven exist? Is God a thing? Let's rethink heaven. Is God dead? This is the kind of stuff that we're inundated, of course, by all the time in our world. And that is to keep us off our true path, what we're doing here. They don't want us to know what we're doing here. So there's a lot of things, there's something that goes on, we hear this a lot, that math is not reality. All right, I know that, Red's rhetoric and stuff like that is like, math is reality. If you can make the math fit, that means it's true. Well, no, that's not true at all, right? So, no, math is not reality. But as we're going to find out, math is the medium to understand our reality. So you can lie about math. You can get Simon Dan's and Red's rhetoric and fight the flat earth guys saying 2 + 2 = 5 all day long and try to get you to believe that. But we can use math to say, well, no, 2 + 2 quantitatively = 4. Okay, so math is not reality, but math is the medium in which we can come to understand our reality. And cultures across the world understood this, and they actually crafted it into their cosmologies. So, how do we know that math isn't reality, but we can use math to understand our reality? Because we're at the Flatoberfest. Flat is a geometric fact. So they're saying, yeah, it's 8 inches per mile squared, and it goes like this, and boats go over and stuff like that. But we're not stupid, and we can say, well, no, it's not. It's a flat plane. So math is a universal medium that the Creator has given all people, everybody, and it's irrefutable. The third triangular number is always going to be 6. 3 times 3 is always going to equal 9. A squared plus B squared is always going to equal C squared. And it doesn't matter what your opinion is, what language you speak, where you were born geographically, what your religion is. Those things will be absolute facts, and they will be so infinitely. So we don't all agree. We don't collectively agree that this thing that we're on, a plane surface, is flat. It's a universal verity, truth, and axiom. It's just truth. And once again, they can lie to us about that, and they can use a bunch of crap math to get us to believe it, as they have. But we can use that same medium to understand that they're lying. And this is the power of mathematics. People lie. And people can lie about math. But math doesn't lie. In fact, this is when we talk about that we're on a plane. It's a geometric term, and even the term geometry comes from geo, meaning earth, and metry, meaning to measure. So all we had to do is actually measure the earth and find out that obviously it's not a ball. So once again, sure, they're using math and giving us a bunch of equations and 93 million miles away and then all this other stuff, but we can use math to find out that they're lying. So we don't all agree that the earth is a plane, a flat plane. It's just a fact because we can use math to prove it. So they can lie about math, but we can use math to find out that they're lying. And so this is a fundamental issue I actually see in a lot of the flat earth communities. It's like, well, math, you can make math fit anything, and you can make math fit anything. Yes, if you can get people to believe in nonsense, yes, you can get people to believe that 2 + 2 does in fact equal 5, but it doesn't. Okay? So this is the universality of math. And by the way, God put that math right in front of us. The decimal system is right here. So I studied cosmologies all over the world for many years, and one of the things you'll find is a consistent theme, and I'm going to show this all over the world so you guys can get a little taste of what I'm talking about here, and that the terms heaven and earth were actually given geometric terms, geometric figures. So heaven is considered circular and a circle. So heaven is heaven is a circle, and earth is a square. And like I said, I'm going to show a few slides to show where this is found all over the world, in architecture and art and symbols and that sort of thing. So heaven is a circle and earth is a square, and there's a particular reason for this. I'll go over that in just a second. This is actually one of the things that Genesis 1:1 is actually talking about. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. In the beginning, God created the circle and the square. Once again, is it anybody's opinion that that square is 4 90-degree corners? No, it's just a geometric fact. Is anybody's opinion that that circle is 360 degrees and that square is 360 degrees? No, it's just a geometric fact. So, where are some of the places that we can find this notion that heaven is a circle and earth is a square? Well, everywhere. First one is the Freemasonic square and compasses. What does the compass create? A circle. And where is it pointing up? It's pointing up. And the square is what? Pointing down. And what is it saying? Compass, circle, heaven, square, earth, square. So in that one symbol right there, they're actually talking about our cosmology. Now, just so you know, there's different interpretations of, you might be a Hindu, or you might be a Buddhist, or you might be a Christian, or you might be a heathen, and so you have your own little books of understanding your cosmology, but we all have the same cosmology. Why? Because we're all standing on the same damn earth, and we're all under the heavens. The next one there is Nuwa and Fu-Chi, and it's the Chinese mother-father goddess that are kind of combined into one. And this is, in their cosmology and their understanding of, the creation of the heavens and the earth. And what are they holding there? It's the compasses in a square. Same sort of thing. The next one is the Buddhist stupa. So here we have the Chinese and the Freemasons and the Buddhists. The Buddhist stupa is built with a square base and then like a dome, almost like a firmament, a circular heavens. It's almost like they knew what they were talking about. So, just a few examples there. Let's keep going. The one on the left there, you've seen those before, right? Those are called mandalas. Do you know what you will find in pretty much every single mandala? Look, a circle and a square. A circle and a square, a circle and a square, a circle and a square. Mandala actually means, dala means to split. Well, what do we have? Heavens, earth. We have a split. All coming from one God, of course, but the next one is an alchemical symbol, and so that's all referencing our cosmology. Square earth, circular heavens. The next one is the alchemical rebus. Same sort of thing that you have in the Nuwa and Fu-Chi, the Chinese, mother, father, God, goddess kind of thing. What are they holding? compasses, and a square. So what is it referencing? The merging of heaven and earth. Probably seen this one on the left there, right? That's Vitruvian Man by Da Vinci. Extremely famous drawing, right? And what is it showing? It's the showing of the proportions of the human being and how they fit perfectly within what? The heaven and the earth, the circle and the square. We are made proportionally perfect. We're made in His image, if you will. And these two archetypal geometric forms, the circle and the square, show this simple notion, basic geometry. Of course, there's good old Pythagoras there, and what does he have? Compasses and square there as well. How about this? Architecture around the world, not just the Buddhist stupa. These are all Christian cathedrals around the world, and you'll see again and again and again, they got a square base representing the earth, and then they have a dome or a circle that represents heaven. You can see it's a fundamental in some of these, main cathedrals. Right there, again and again and again, they will use this theme because it's universal. Doesn't belong to anybody. It's property of everybody and no one, in other words. And it tells something about where we are. And as we're going to see, it's going to tell us about who we are, too. The Christian Orthodoxy, you'll find this. This is from Jonathan Peugeot, actually. Pretty famous guy on YouTube right now. And he wrote a whole article. Heaven is round, earth is a square. Why is it round? Well, there's probably a dome up there, right? Some sort of metaphysical barrier, if you will. Heaven is round, earth is square. So this idea is found all over the world and crafted in some of the greatest mystical traditions and is kept alive even today. Of course, you find this as well. For all the Christians out there, you find plenty of illustrations of Jesus, and he's holding a compass and he's circumscribing the earth. So, what do this circle and square represent? Well, the heaven, the circle, and the earth, the square. The heaven, the circle, is the metaphysical. It's that which is beyond the physical. Literally, nobody can go up there in a flesh vehicle, if you will. It's beyond the physical. It's the unknown. How far away is Sirius? Can anybody tell me? What's the diameter of the sun? Can anybody tell me? How far away is the moon? Can anybody tell me? No. It's unknown. It's incorruptible. No man can go up there and change the course of, we're going to shift the stars in Orion's belt a little bit, or maybe we'll make the sun rise over here tomorrow. It doesn't work that way. We don't get to touch that stuff. Therefore, it's incorruptible. It's incorporeal. It's celestial. It's spiritual. Spirit as opposed to material, matter. Earth represents the physical. It's the known. It's the corruptible. Down here is where corruption actually happens. It's the corporeal. It's the terrestrial. It's the material. It's the matter. So what you have with these two geometric archetypes is heaven being the metaphysical, earth being the physical. Heaven being the unknown, earth being the known. Heaven being the incorruptible, earth being the corruptible. So you can see what you have is these essentially pair of opposites that unite harmoniously in our cosmology. And they're understood through two geometric forms, the circle and the square. Now, why is the heaven known as a circle and earth as a square? I don't want to get too mathy here, but I'll just say this quick. The circle is actually immeasurable. We always have to approximate a circle. Always. Why? Because we're using the constant of pi. I don't want to get into this too much, but pi is an infinite number. So because it's infinite, we always have to approximate that number. Always. So whether it's 3.142 or 3.141, doesn't matter. We always have to approximate it, which means we can never truly understand the circumference or the area of a circle because we have to approximate pi. So we can get really, really close to understanding its area or its circumference, but we can never actually truly measure it. So the circle inherently, by its inherent geometry, has an immeasurability to it. Just like the stars above. Once again, how far away is the North Star? What's the diameter of the moon? But I can take a tape measure and measure this stage, right? Well, that's because the Earth is a square. And what can we do? Well, we can easily measure the square. We could go and find its 90-degree corners. We could put a tape measure around it. I know exactly if that side is 8 and it's a square, well, that area is going to be 64. The circle doesn't have that. So hence why you find culture after culture, whether it's the Buddhists, whether it's the Chinese, whether it's the Masons, whether it's the Christians, mandalas all over the world are expressing these fundamentals. It's all understood through basics of geometry. So when we talk about the heavens being metaphysical, beyond the physical, this is one of the things that is 1 Corinthians 15:50 says, "Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God, neither doth corruption inherit incorruption." Corruption, incorruption. These flesh and blood vehicles don't get to go up there. Why? Because they're material. Well, we're not supposed to bring our flesh and blood vehicles back home. We're supposed to bring the spirit, the divine spark, back to the Creator. So this fundamental, this archetypal fundamental geometry is understood across the world, and the powers that be know this, and they're going to flash it in your face and mock you, because that's what they do. So, when we talk about that's the metaphysical, it's beyond the physical. What I'm saying is that the moon isn't a physical object. Sirius isn't a physical object. Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mintaka, the Orion's belt, those are not physical objects. The sun is not a physical object. It's metaphysical. It's incorporeal in this sense. And this is one of the reasons that they're driving buggies around on the moon. And they're sending rovers on Mars. Because they want to convince you that that shit's material. They want to convince you that we can land on the moon because it's a physical object. And we can land on Mars. It's not. So one of the biggest, occult things that they're doing is trying to convince you that all of that stuff up there is material. So what are they doing? They're hiding the spiritual. Hence why they're lying to us about the earth. They don't want you to know where you are. They don't want you to know what the heavens above actually are. And they don't want you to know your purpose here. It's because they're damned wizards, as we all know. They are wizards. They're not scientists. They're occult scientists, but they're wizards. And this is what they're doing full time. All of these organizations are constructed specifically to hide your purpose of returning that divine spark, that eternal divine spark within you, home to the Creator. That's what they're doing. So people say, well, flat earth, they're hiding God. Yeah, that's true, right? They're hiding God. But moreover, they're trying to play God. Because when you think about it is, if you can control souls by manipulating, by lying, by spell casting people, by programming them, if you can convince them they don't know where they are and all this other stuff, well then what are you doing? You're controlling the process of souls getting back to God. So they're playing God. Well, of course they are. They're trying to anyway, right? So this is going to get into, once again, I'm just going to show this. I'm not going to get too mathy on here or anything like that. But when you have the circle and the square, this is an ancient mystical mathematical art called squaring the circle. And what it is finding a congruence between the circle and the square, and finding equality between the circle and the square. And so there's a couple different ways you can square the circle. but one of them is shown here. And what you do, so this is the Great Pyramid. We all know the Great Pyramid of Giza. Of course, it's one of the 7 wonders of the world. It's an architectural masterpiece. Most people have no idea why it was even built or what it's for, and we still don't know. But we do know one thing, because we can use math. And what it's doing is squaring the circle. So as you can see, when you find the perimeter of that square equal to the circumference of the circle. So once again, to make this simple, you're just finding equality between the circle and the square, as close as you can. When you do this, what happens is you can fit the proportions of the Great Pyramid of Giza within these 2 geometric forms, very simply. Okay? That's going to be important moving on. So, we don't really know who built the Great Pyramid of Giza. We don't really know what it's for. You know, we have all these speculations and all this conjecture and all this other stuff. But we do know one thing for sure, that it is a repository for mathematical information. And when you understand that mathematics is universal and actually can tell us about our cosmology, then you start to understand why they lie to us so much about math. And why, when we go through our school system, everybody hates it. So, everybody see this, put it in your head, because now we're going to start showing you how these people know this, and how they flash it in your face, and how they use it to mock you. Everybody see this, Great Pyramid of Giza, fitting within the circle and the square. This is the Tesla logo. Everybody see this? So doing some basic geometry. And anybody can do this, and I encourage you to do it. You can go into a CAD program, and so you see the top arc of that Tesla logo there. Well, you can make a circle with that arc. It's very simple. You got a Corel Draw or Adobe Illustrator or Affinity Designer, go ahead and do it. Real easy. You can take that logo, make the circle, and at the bottom of that T, do you know what will fit perfectly within there? The proportions of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Which does what? Squares the circle. Which does what? Tells us about our true cosmology. Once again, what is Tesla doing? Trying to convince us that it's material up there. Landing rovers on Mars and sending cars up there and all this other stuff. No. How about this one? The Economist, the world in 2019. I'm sure many people have seen this. I'm just going to show this real quick. But the biggest thing they have there is the Vitruvian Man, which is what? Within the squared circle. How about this one? The G20 Italia Summit. People, planet, prosperity. What's their main logo? It's the 2 geometric forms to tell us about our true cosmology. Metaphysical, physical. Incorruptible, corruptible. The people on this stage, every single one of these people are occultists. That's what they do. They work full-time to make sure you don't know who you are, where you are, the nature of God, the nature of this place, and what you're doing here.
True!
Yes. Here's another one. They like to make it extra big for you. Oh, this one's rich. Oh, this one's fun. How about the Foucault pendulum? What do you guys see there? What's at the bottom of that? It's a squared circle. So for you guys that don't know, the Foucault pendulum is allegedly the scientific experiment that tells us about the spin of the Earth and all this other. So, and look what, they built this whole thing, and what did they put under it? The 2 geometric forms that tell us about, once again, who we are, where we are, the nature of the heavens, and the nature of the earth. Remember this one? It was 19 hijackers and a dude in a cave. Remember this one? Now most people are like, September 11, it's 9/11, 9/11 is that's an emergency number, and that's why. No, September 11th didn't happen on 9/11. Nuh-uh. September means 7. Sept means 7. Oct means 8. Nov means 9. Deca means 10. Yet for some reason, those are the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th months. Doesn't make any sense to me. Shouldn't make any sense to you either. So 9/11 did not happen on 9/11. It happened on Sept, which means 7/11. 7/11. Do you know what you can use two numbers to find the basic proportions of the Great Pyramid of Giza, and do you know what those numbers are? 7/11. Now, that's just one thing, but I have a whole video that I would highly recommend if you haven't watched, and it's called I don't know if I have it here, but it's called De-Occulting the Las Vegas Shooting in 9/11, where I actually go into all the math that they used, and they repeatedly use the squared circle. How many people died, the time, again and again and again and again. So speaking of the Las Vegas shooting, you guys remember this? Stephen Paddock, floor 135 at room 32, and he had all those weapons, and he busted out the windows, and he shot all those people that were in a paddock. It was almost like it was a cult satanic ritual or something, I don't know. So you guys remember this one? Yeah. Well, so there was the shooting right there. It's like, oh, there's the crowd, and Jason Aldean was playing some shit country music, and then so yeah, and so that's what happened, guys. That's exactly what happened. Just believe the narrative. And that happened right across the street from the Luxor Hotel, which is a representation of the Great Pyramid of Giza. So yet again, another occult satanic ritual that was aimed at scaring the shit out of everybody and trying to take your weapons. And what did they do? What did they evoke? The Great Pyramid of Giza, the squared circle. There it is again. That's literally right across the street. Oh, I think I do have this. Highly recommend the Antichrist Rituals of 9/11 and the Las Vegas shooting. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back here, but this video will blow your mind. Best video ever. Thank you. So, like I said, I'm going to try to make this quick because I'm usually too verbose, but there's one more though. There's one more that's really going to get you guys. And this is the one that got me. Now, we've all fallen for conspiracies. That's why we're all here, because we've all fallen for the nonsense and the programming and everything like that. But as I said, they're lying to us, as you guys all know, about the shape of the earth, but they're also lying to us about the size of the earth. Well, they give us pretty particular measurements about the size of the earth and the moon and the sun and how far away it is and all this other stuff. Well, guess what, ladies and germs? The squared circle, as you can see right there, the proportions of the earth that they give to us in the helio-nonsensical model, the proportions of the earth and the moon fit perfectly within the squared circle. So you can even see there that light little triangle there. That's the proportions of the Great Pyramid of Giza. And so even I fell for this one because I was like, yeah, NASA knows what they're talking about. They obviously measured this stuff. No, they haven't. Why? Because they can't. It's beyond the physical. So they're lying to us about the shape of the earth, but they're also lying to us about the size of the earth. And what did they do to lie to us? What did they use? Our true cosmology. The two figures, geometric figures, the circle and the square, to lie to us about where we are. So, once again, the earth, draw a square around the earth, and the helio-nonsensical model, make a circle that's as big as that square, in the diameter, in the circumference and perimeter, and this actually gives you, once again, the proportions of the earth and the moon in their faulty model. So, when they told you that, hey, the diameter of the earth is 7,920 miles, roughly, and the diameter of the moon is 2,160 miles, do you know where they got this stuff? From basic geometry that tells us about what our true cosmology is. So, here's another one for you, just real quick. just to show you how really twisted this all is. If you look the combined radii of the Earth and Moon here in their heliononsensical model, thanks David Weiss for that phraseology because it's so great. So the combined radii is 5,040 miles. Okay? Roughly speaking, about 98% correct, something like that. Of course, this is not true at all, but that's what they tell us anyway. Well, where do they get this 5,040? Well, all you have to do is look at your hands. You have these little things called phalanges on your hands. These little segments here. And you can go ahead and count them yourself. Don't worry, there's not going to be a math test later. But you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And of course, you got 2 of these hands. So 14 times 2 is 28. Well, adding 1 through 7, so 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 equals 28. So in other words, the 7th triangular number is on your hands. Well, just multiply 1 through 7, and you know what you got? 5,040. These are some, pardon my language, these are some sick dickbags. So you can lie about math. Absolutely. You can convince people that 2 plus 2 equals 5. But we can use math to say, well, no, it doesn't. 2 plus 2 quantitatively equals 4. And there's nothing that you can tell me that will convince me otherwise, because I can do basic math. So you can lie about math, but math doesn't lie. And not only can we use math to find out that they're lying, as we do here. That's what the Flatoberfest is all about. Right? They said it's 8 inches per mile squared, right? And then we said, no, it's a plane. No, we can clearly see too far. That's because math doesn't lie. We just have to be honest with it. But we can also use math to find out what they're lying about. And what are they lying about? Our purpose here. Our purpose here. God has given us a purpose, each and every single one of us. And they don't want you to know. And these cultures across the world, and the Mandala, and the Chinese, and the Buddhists, and all of this stuff, they're trying to let us know. I'm sure the people at whoever did the Las Vegas shooting are not going to tell us anyway. So we have a task at hand, all of us. And we're all undergoing, we've all accepted this task. We've all accepted this quest, and that's why we're here. But the task of the present age, before I say this, what are they doing? What do these evil people do? What do Satanists do? They take things and they invert them. They take the sacred and they invert it, just as I just showed you. There's nothing wrong with a circle and a square. There's nothing wrong with our true cosmology. Nothing wrong with any of these things at all. But what did they do? They took it and they perverted it and inverted it and lied to us since we were, before we even came out of our mother's wombs. So we have a task to resacralize this place. The task of the present age, Frank C. Higgins, the task of the present age is to awaken public sentiment to the fact that these leeches and parasites are but traitors in sacred things. As the lawyer who employs the law of the land for the perpetuation of injustices, the chemist who uses scientific knowledge to establish drug vices in a community, we've gone through that one, or the merchant whose gains are based on the adulterants he uses. The truth is that there are no mysteries except the one all-pervading and ever-present mystery, which each individual seeker for union of the segregated mind with the universal mind may fathom for him or herself without money and without price. You don't put a price on your spiritual quest. So that's our task, is to awaken the public sentiment of what these jackwagons are doing. And what they're doing is taking God's cosmology, our purpose, what we're doing here, and smearing it in the mud, lying to everyone, lying to our children, programming us into infinitude, right? But don't worry, for we should rejoice. For we are the spellbreakers. We are the ones that are standing up and saying, no more of this garbage, no more of this nonsense. We want to know truth. We're not going to be afraid to talk about it. We're going to stand up and speak our minds. We're going to hold conferences. We're going to get on YouTube and Rockfin or whatever, and we're going to tell everybody what the truth is. No more of their lies, no more of their programs, no more of their wizardry, no more of their spellcrafts. We break it. So rejoice, for we are the spellbreakers. So give yourself a pat on the back. And that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys so much. Love you all. And thanks to Kevin B.
Thank you, Marty. Marty Leeds. All right.